Welcome back, friends. It's time for more Sir Lancelot the Great. We are on chapter 7, which is Sir Lancelot the Retired. Sir Lancelot had been thinking about his future, and the more he thought, the gloomier he felt. What he'd been thinking was that being a knight in shining armor wasn't all it was cracked up to be. He knew that he was very good at what he did, and that he ought to be content, but he wasn't. Nothing ever seemed to turn out as it should. He had won great honor for his skill, but that had only made him a target for ambitious knights and scheming ladies. He had enjoyed winning tournaments, but his victories had only ruined the fun for everyone else. It had been pleasant to be a knight in disguise, but even that had caused problems, putting Sir Kay in danger and nearly ruining everything for Lady Elaine and Sir Levan. His problem, as he saw it, was that the thing that he did best was the very thing that kept making trouble for himself and his friends. At last, Sir Lancelot made his decision. Going to King Arthur, he said, "Sire, I would like to retire from the Round Table and leave Camelot." The king stared. "Retire? Leave? But why, Lance?" "I am not happy, my king." "Not. Look here, Lance, if this is about some lady you've fallen in love with, I could talk to her and—" "It's not that, sire." King Arthur sighed. "Well, I didn't think so. After all, it seems as if all the ladies in the court would be glad to have you, judging from the way they follow you everywhere." "Oh, I think I see." Sir Lancelot nodded. "Yes, I would like to go where no one follows me." Here's the picture. Everybody's standing at the windows. The king bowed his head sadly. "You must do so what seems best to you, my friend. Go in peace, Lance." Sir Kay understood, too, when Sir Lancelot told him. "I remember saying once that I wouldn't be you for anything," he said. "Yes," replied Sir Lancelot. "I'd like to put away my shining armor and stop being Sir Lancelot for a while." But Sir Kay only smiled. "You can put off the armor, anyway," he said, and then Sir Lancelot left for Camelot. Sir Lancelot rode into a dense and pathless forest. Along the way, he came to a lake, and after removing his sword and shining armor, he threw them in. 2 days later, he rode up to a rough cabin in a small clearing, where an old man sat on a 3-legged stool. Sir Lancelot stared. "I didn't think anyone lived in this forest," he exclaimed. The old man smiled. "And I didn't think anyone ever passed through this forest." He rose to his feet. "But I don't mind a visitor. My name is Brastias." There's the picture. Sir Lancelot nodded in greeting. "And I'm I'm Lancelot." Brastias said, "Lancelot, what an interesting name. I don't think I've ever heard that one before." Sir Lancelot smiled wider. "Really? How wonderful! You've lived here long?" 20 winters now, ever since I gave up being a knight." "You used to be a knight?" "Yes," replied Brastias, "but I didn't like it, so I came here to the deepest forest in the land, found a clearing, and built a cabin. I live a quiet life here, eating what the forest provides." Sir Lancelot sighed thoughtfully. "That sounds nice. But what do you do all day?" Brastias stroked his beard. "Well," he said, "I take naps every afternoon." Sir Lancelot's eyes gleamed. "Are there any other clearings hereabouts?" And that was chapter 7, so I'll keep going. I'll read chapter 8, The Poisoned Pear. While Sir Lancelot made a new life for himself, trouble came to Camelot. There was one knight at Camelot who did not love King Arthur. His name was Sir Mador de la Porte. Sir Mador's brother had been a recreant knight, one whom King Arthur had banished from England, and although Sir Mador smiled and outwardly made himself agreeable, all his inward thoughts were of revenge. Sir Mador had many woven plans, but he wanted his vengeance to be perfect. He had thought of ways to kill the king, But that was not enough for him. He didn't want the king to die. He wanted the king to suffer. Sir Mador decided to kill Queen Guinevere instead. So it happened that about a year after Sir Lancelot retired from the Round Table, Sir Mador took action. During the bustle of preparations for a feast, he managed to slip a poisoned pear into the bowl of fruit that Queen Guinevere always kept at her place. But that night, the queen was not hungry and only picked at her food. She ate so little that a young knight named Sir Patrice, once he had finished his own meal, asked if she were feeling well. The queen smiled at him and said, "I am just not hungry this evening, but don't let me slow you down, Sir Patrice. Here, have a pear." That evening, Sir Patrice died, and all the knights and ladies of Camelot mourned, all except one. Sir Mador was delighted. This was even better than his original plan. He went to work. First, he recovered the core of the pear. Then, for 2 nights, he shut himself up, reading books of old laws. Then, on the 3rd day, Sir Mador presented himself to the king and queen in the throne room. "O king," announced Sir Mador, "I bring you grave news. I have discovered that poor Sir Patrice's death was no accident. He was poisoned." "Poisoned!" exclaimed King Arthur. "But who?" "The poison was in this pear," said Sir Mador, producing the core. "To discover the murderer, we must find who gave this to him to eat." Queen Guinevere gasped. But I gave Sir Patrice that pear." Sir Mador drew himself up and declared sternly, "Then, Queen Guinevere, I charge you with murder. And because no judge in England would dare rule against the queen, I claim my right as your accuser to call for a trial by combat." There's a picture of, I think, Sir Patrice eating the poison pear. Oopsie whoopsie. All the court buzzed with astonishment, and a murmur went up. A trial by combat! Now, the trial by combat was an ancient custom in Old England, almost forgotten in King Arthur's time. In this custom, when a person was accused of a crime, one knight took the side of the accused person and fought against the accuser to decide the case. The idea was that the truth would always prevail, but what generally happened was that the side that had the strongest knight prevailed. "But we haven't used the trial by combat in years," protested King Arthur. "It is still the law of the land, is it not? I will prove Queen Guinevere's guilt with my own sword." As one, all of King Arthur's knights rose to their feet, each demanding the right to defend the queen, but Sir Mador held up his hand. "Wait," he said, pulling a roll of parchment from his tunic. "This is the law of the trial by combat, and it clearly states that when the accused person is a king or a queen, then the defender must come from outside the court. None of the knights of the Round Table may take the queen's part. It is the law." The court lapsed into a stunned silence. Sir Mador smiled evilly. "By law, you have 1 week to find the defender. If none appears, then the queen will be declared guilty, and you, O king, must order your own wife's execution." Turning, he strode triumphantly from the court. "Can't you just change the law?" wearily asked Sir Bedivere, one of King Arthur's advisors. The king and his council had spent the whole night searching through law books, but they could find no way around Sir Mador's demand. "How can I claim to rule England with justice if I change the laws just to suit myself?" replied the king. "I still don't understand why none of your own knights can't fight for her," replied Sir Gawain. "Because if that were allowed," King Arthur explained, "then a king could do whatever he wanted. If anyone complained, he could just have his strongest knight call for a trial by combat, and kill off his opposition, and it would all be legal. No, the law must be kept. We just have to find a champion to fight for our queen. But where? Asked Sir Bedivere. All the knights who love you are prohibited by law from defending her. The only knights who are allowed to take part are recreant knights who hate you. The king put his head in his hands. I know, he said sadly. Kay, what do you think? There was no answer. King Arthur raised his head and looked around the council room. Sir Kay was gone. All right, friends, next time we will read chapter 9, which is called The Oddly Made Knight. I hope that you guys are well, and thanks for reading with me. See you soon. Bye.